So, hello everyone. I'm Christy Cohen, Chief Executive Officer of the Restoration Industry Association, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here today for our inaugural 2021 State of the Restoration Industry Facebook Live event presented by RIA and IICRC. We appreciate you all taking the time to join us today, as we certainly recognize the impact the recent unprecedented weather events have had on so many of you. Our thoughts are certainly with all of those impacted by the winter storms, and we appreciate the incredible efforts of the many restorers working to respond to these CAT events. Our goal is for the State of the Restoration Industry event to become an annual tradition to keep restorers informed and connected. Now more than ever, it's so important that we provide opportunities to bring the restoration industry together. Over the last year, so many events were canceled or postponed due to COVID-19. And while we are very excited to see you all at the RIA Convention and Industry Expo taking place in Kissimmee, Florida in June, the issues impacting our industry now require timely information and response. So that is why we have pulled together a terrific lineup of industry professionals who will speak to the state of the industry and share critical information on issues that will most likely be impacting your businesses this year. First, you're going to hear from Kevin Pearson, IICRC Chairman of the Board, Carey Vermeulen, IICRC Chair-Elect, and Michael Dakduk, IICRC President and CEO, on key updates from IICRC. RIA Board President Mark Springer and RIA President-Elect Katie Smith are going to be sharing RIA's 2021 strategic priorities and AGA initiatives. And then we will have Philip Rosebook, President and Partner in Business Mentors, who's going to address the impact that private equity interests are having on restoration companies, followed by Mr. Mike Fulton, President of Xactware Solutions, who's going to share his insights on claim virtualization and technology trends impacting the claims environment. Our final presenter will be Brandon Burton, IICRC Standards Chairman, who's going to present the newly released report from the IICRC RIA AIHA Crisis Joint Task Force to assist restorers responding to the winter storm CAT events. A couple of quick housekeeping notes as we get started. Today's event is slated for 90 minutes and will be recorded and posted on social media for those who aren't able to join us today. And as I mentioned earlier, I want to invite all of you to register for RIA's Restoration Convention and Industry Expo taking place June 28th through the 30th at the Gaylord Palms in Kissimmee, Florida. Registration is now open, and we are very much looking forward to seeing everyone in person this year. So let's go ahead and get started. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our first presenters today. Kevin Pearson has been in the industry since 1992 and currently serves as the IICRC Chairman of the Board. Over the years, Kevin has served on standards committees. He's chaired several committees, including the Certified Firm, Nominating and Education Committees, and has served in many different officer positions on the IICRC board. Next, we have Carey Vermeulen, who is a 40-year veteran in the cleaning and restoration industry from Toronto, Canada. Carey is the Chair-Elect of the IICRC and has been involved with the organization since 1984, having volunteered on the IICRC board for over 22 years. And lastly, it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Dakduk, President and Chief Executive Officer at IICRC. Michael was named IICRC CEO in March of 2020. He has a background in managing nonprofits with a focus on education and is an advocate for career, technical, and trade programs. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here today, be on this panel with all these great speakers. But first, I wanted to let Carey talk a little bit about some exciting news on our S500 standard.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. And thank you, Christy and Mark, and all the good folks at RIA for bringing us together here. It means a lot. This industry's come so far. it's incredible. And you know, my nostalgic ways, I wanted to put this document up in front of a camera for a second and remind everybody where we came from. Okay, and this is the first version of the S500 that was published originally in 1994, IICRC's second standard to be published. And man, it has come a long way. So IICRC's standards division, which I can't speak highly enough about, you know, led by Brandon Burton and Millie Washington. And I'm not going to go into the names. There's way too many names to thank. But, you know, we accomplished this, right? We accomplished this and released that at the beginning of 2016, end of 2015. And now, again, we have gone through the ANSI process, the consensus process, and have revised the document again. We've separated the reference guide from the standard, and this has now been submitted to ANSI for final approval, hopefully final approval. And I'm just proud to be part of this organization and the work that gets done. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Millie. Kevin, back to you.
Thanks, Carey. It is truly a labor of love producing those standards. There's a lot of work that goes into that. But we also have instituted this last year, because of the current pandemic, our live stream courses. And we actually have 9 of our 19 approved IICRC courses deal with restoration. So one that is currently out there right now in beta testing until the end of April is our AMRT class. And you can take this live stream until the end of April, and then the committee's gonna kind of relook at it and see if we want to continue that way. So if this is something that you've been wanting to take, by all means, you need to at least get it done before the end of April. The AMRT live stream is it's an interesting course, has the hands-on aspect, is done virtually. So that's something to look forward to. If you don't have that certification, you can go out there and get it via live stream. But we also have our building moisture thermography. You can see them all listed here: the commercial drying, contents processing. The contents processing certification is a brand new one that we just came out with in January. It's been a long road to get that one to market, but it's here now, and it is, from what I understand, the classes are filling up fast on that. And so that one is new, and it's very exciting. If you've ever wanted something like that, I know it's been a long time in the industry, people have wanted something like that. You can now go and take that online. And of course, we have our FSRT, the fire and smoke course. Health and safety is also available via live stream. Our odor control and trauma and crime scene, and our most popular course, the WRT. So like to now introduce Michael Dakduk, who will be taking over the next portion of our time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. And to the Chairman-elect, thanks a lot. Actually, can you go back a couple of slides to the first one on ANSI? No, just the end. Thank you. I appreciate that. I also want to mention we're really excited to tell you all that we have the S500 and the S520, which covers mold, awaiting adoption by Standards Australia. And Standards Australia is the counterpart to ANSI here in North America. So the S500 on water damage and the S520 on mold are submitted to Standards Australia with over 150 letters of support to get it a local modified adoption. So essentially the S500 and S520 here in the States and in North America adopted for Australia and New Zealand. And it's already been submitted. It's awaiting review and approval. If you could advance a few more slides to the digital badge, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Digital badges. Technology is one of our main strategic priorities in the IICRC strategic plan for fiscal year 2021. And the idea was to augment the paper certifications that every certified tech receives. They receive the certification when they pass an exam and a pocket card. But that takes several weeks to receive. And we know some are trying to get on the job and they have to show proof of having an IICRC certification. Right now, we've rolled out a certified firm digital badge. The vision is to have a digital badge that can be issued to every certified technician immediately upon passing their exam. So they can instantly have verification in the digital world. So you can put it on your smartphone, your iPad when you go out to a job, and you can show that you have a certified, you're certified as a technician. What's interesting about digital badges is it uses blockchain technology. Don't worry, you don't need to know much about it. The simplest way to think of it is it's a digital fingerprint. So we're able to get away from any fraudulent uses of certifications, which we have seen, but this is one of those ways to get around it in the digital world. So we're really excited to roll it out with certified firms. We've already started that process in the past month. It's taken off. We're excited with certified firms because now when a firm puts on their website, they can use this digital badge. Someone can click on that and actually see their qualifications for being a certified firm. And when they renew, it automatically updates. And again, that's what we hope to see, or our vision for the future, is that all technicians have the certified firm digital badge, and all technicians have a digital badge. The final thing I'll say is that we're really happy to be co-hosting this with RIA. We're grateful to Mark and Katie and Christy for having us as a co-presenter of this inaugural event, and we're very privileged to continue this partnership for the years to come. Kevin or Carey, did you have any final words or thoughts on IICRC strategy?
I think you covered a lot of it very well, Mike, so I appreciate it. But I, as well, would like to thank Mark and Katie and Christy for having us on today. This is the inaugural event, so it will be looked at for years to come as a great event, I'm sure, and one that we'll want to keep going for the industry. So I appreciate it, and thanks for the time again today.
I do as well. Thanks, Kevin, and thank you, Michael. And moving in as chair-elect and the chairman of IICRC position, I look forward to the collaboration that these two groups can bring to the industry. So thank you again as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin, Carey, and Michael, for sharing that important information with us here today. Very exciting with all of the standards work and the digital badges that you all will be rolling out. So thank you very much for being here. And now for our RIA update, it's my pleasure to introduce Mark Springer and Katie Smith. Mark Springer has worked in the industry for over 25 years. He is the current president and CEO of Dayspring Restoration. Mark serves as the president of the RIA Board of Directors and holds several industry designations, including RIA's Certified Restorer Advanced designation. He's been involved in several RIA committees and has played a pivotal role in the establishment of RIA's Advocacy and Government Affairs Committee. Katie Smith is the second generation owner of PHC Restoration in North Carolina, Passionate about servant leadership and building relationships, Katie plays an active role both inside of her company and within the industry. She's the RIA President-Elect and chairs RIA's Advocacy and Government Affairs Committee. She's also the past president of MSDCA, a regional association representing Southeastern restorers, and holds the RIA Certified Restorer designation. Mark and Katie.
Christy, thank you so much. And I just want to really underscore and acknowledge that while IICRC has indicated their appreciation of the partnership that we have, RIA also is so pleased to have such a collaborative and positive working relationship with IICRC at this point. You know, there's so many good things over this last year, this unprecedented year that we have just experienced that have been so fruitful and have brought such great leadership to the industry at a time when I think we needed it the most. One of the things that we were really proud to work with IICRC on was the release of the Joint Task Force COVID document. The resource that was brought by Brandon Burton and the IICRC and RIA team was joined also by the American Industrial Hygiene Association. This has proved to be such an important partnership, and we look forward to what we will be able to do in the future. There's a lot of good stuff in store as to how we can take the certifications in this industry, elevate them, advance them, and really see an industry that has been fragmented and disjointed for a long time come together for the benefit of all the restoration companies, not only in North America, but around the world. At RIA, we had a very challenging year in 2020. As a trade association, our association depends heavily on education events that have been historically live. Our convention is one of our key events that we have. And of course, in 2020, that entire event, despite our best efforts to reschedule it and to work around other options, became something that we had to cancel. The first time in our 75-year history, we were forced to cancel our event. That had a huge impact on our business model, how we have done business for many decades. And I'm just so proud of the leadership we have at RIA. Our board of directors, the staff have been incredible as we've had to pivot. And you know, and a lot of times we find these difficult events have a silver lining, because in that process, we find that addressing these challenges opens our eyes to new opportunities that maybe we didn't know that we had before. Certainly that was our experience last year as we began to bring virtual events over the course of the year to the industry. Our very first virtual convention was brought to the industry last fall. It was an enormous success. It was hugely attended. It was attended very well, much more than I even thought possible. And some very, very key things happened in that virtual event for the industry. We'll talk about some of those things in just a minute. One of the most important things that we did last year to really set the stage for a lot of the development that RIA has had is we were able to engage with a management company association headquarters based out in New Jersey, right outside Philadelphia. And so proud to have Christy Cohen as our CEO. Christy has brought an incredible new level of leadership to our association as we've been able to focus on the things that we as the board of directors believe are most important, and that is focusing on the needs of our members. We want our members to be able to see RIA as an indispensable piece of their business. We are doing that through education, through advocacy, and elevating the entire property restoration industry. In our strategic plan, we are very focused on making sure that RIA is sustainable. We had to focus in a very unusual way on that last year because of the change that we had in the industry with the COVID-19 pandemic. There are so many resources we were able to bring to our members through this process that were timely, important, and critical as they operate their business. Now, advocacy is one of the most important things in our strategic plan that receives a great deal of the focus of the work that we have right now. I'm going to save just some of the discussion to really let Katie focus on some of the key pieces of advocacy. But we believe this: our industry needs a voice. There has to be a voice for restoration companies as we lobby and as we speak for the issues that are critical for our contractor members. For a long time, we've not had that voice. In fact, in many cases, we've had other entities speaking for us that aren't always aligned with our interests. The time for restorers to speak for restorers is now, and that's what RIA is doing for you. Membership growth and engagement is critical for us. We're doing this through quite a few different new ways for our members. Look to see more over the year to come. Elevating the industry with the certifications and alignment with IICRC also is very important. We had more virtual training courses and certifications last year than any year before, and we're glad to be bringing that with IICRC. Now, we know that COVID-19 impacted the industry in profound ways. From this CleanFacts restoration survey, you can see that many companies were hurt, but they will bounce back. That's what we heard from so many of our members. We want to come alongside and support them by providing important resources with groups like IICRC that can be brought to them in a timely fashion. Please see our COVID-19 resource page where we have an abundance of resources, and you will see, like Brandon Burton will be talking later about the storm event, anytime we face these critical industry issues, we respond quickly to them. Now, we know that businesses face key challenges right now. In fact, many businesses face challenges that they've never faced before. As our economy continues to rebound from COVID-19, recruiting and retaining quality staff is seen as one of the most important challenges. Again, thank you to CleanFacts magazine, who provided their survey information to us. We find that the results of the survey completely align with the priorities and goals that RIA has for the restoration industry. You'll see the second key business challenge that we face as restorers is maintaining margins and profitability. This is the area, again, where our industry needs voice for the issues that we face in our individual businesses. This is where the Advocacy and Government Affairs, otherwise known as AGA, has played a crucial role in being able to help the industry. Now, what we were doing right now is mapped out in the AGA blueprint. The AGA blueprint is our strategy and plan to be able to speak for and provide voice and advocacy for the restoration industry. You've probably heard about AGA. You will continue to hear about AGA. This is centric to AGA's strategy and goals as we move forward. We have prioritized the needs of our members, the issues that they face, and we have developed position papers that speak to these issues in ways that are cogent and concise and able to have a restoration advocate working on our behalf, not a restoration company who may have challenges worrying about facing retribution from some of the issues that they face, but rather having our restoration advocate, who we brought onto RIA as a hired position, in Mr. Ed Cross. Ed has done an incredible job being able to build bridges in the areas where restoration companies face enormous challenges. One of these issues, and where Ed was able to engage for us, was in the development of our third-party consultant position statements. We have 8 position statements that are available to our members that speak to some of the biggest challenges restorers face with third-party consultants. So many restorers have experienced times when, after a property restoration project is completed, they may have a consultant engage on that project after the fact, months after, and challenge their invoices, challenge their methodology. In some cases, they may even have payment for their services held up. And our experts work together to develop 8 position statements that speak clearly and concisely in a very collaborative way as to how we address these issues that restoration companies face. A lot of these challenges are enormously challenging as restoration companies feel very alone, and in many cases, they feel like they don't have any way to be able to defend positions that are simply good business practices. These positions were able to be advocated with some of the key third-party consultants to bring alignment to how we work together so that our relationship isn't one of conflict, but rather one of collaboration as we seek to serve our customers together. Now, the second product that was brought to the industry was our third-party administrator scorecard. Now, this piece was very important for us to be able to find out what are the areas of opportunity where third-party administrators could work better with restoration companies. A lot of restoration companies find challenges as they have increasing demands placed on them by third-party administrators without compensation. or without any way for them to be able to address these issues. Our third-party administrator scorecard identifies these issues, and now we have the perfect tool to be able to come to these third-party administrators and find, again, areas to work together, common ground, and areas where we can together improve the property restoration industry. Expect to see a lot about that in 2021. In 2021, our AGA chairwoman, who also is RIA's chair-elect, president-elect, Katie Smith, will be working on a lot of different initiatives for us to bring this to the industry. We're so excited to talk about a major release. And with that, Katie, I'm going to turn over to you. Thank you for all you're doing. And I'm sure restorers are very excited to hear about this next position statement that we have.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. We've got some big things happening in 2021. So we're going to go ahead and start with the topic of pricing, which we know is a big pain point for contractors. You guys are hearing this here first today. Yesterday, the RIA board approved our much anticipated pricing position statement. The issue we address in our stance is that insurance carriers and their partners should not prohibit deviations from standardized price lists. We spent hundreds of hours writing and peer reviewing this document, and there are 4 main points that we make. The first is that standardized prices may not accurately represent the usual and customary price. The second is that software providers do not set restoration prices. The third is that the accurate or the right price is not something that is global in nature. And the fourth is that labor rates, overhead, and profit should be customized. This statement is now available to RIA members on our website. It will give you some much needed support when dealing with adjusters. It's the first of many pricing papers to come. So we want to say thank you to our pricing team, our AGA members, and Ed Cross, our restoration advocate, for a job well done on this statement. Contractors can also be on the lookout for a new concept from RIA and Xactware in 2021, and that's going to be the Certified Pricing Specialist program, which is under development now. We are working with Xactware to create a better way to give more accurate pricing feedback. This would allow estimators a chance to become certified in pricing feedback and submit better and more accurate information to Xactware when it comes to pricing for labor and materials. And Xactware has already formed contractor focus groups that are meeting quarterly. So you can expect an announcement from RIA and Xactware later this year. We hope to have it ready to present at our annual convention in June. Moving on to the TPA scorecard, and Mark gave you the basics on that, but RIA members have access to the industry's first ever source where you can find TPAs objectively ranked and compared to each other. Last summer, nearly 1,000 contractors took our ranking survey, and then our advocate took the results to the TPAs. Many of them then asked for more tangible feedback. So we gave contractors the opportunity to give open-ended feedback, and we received about 500 responses. Then our TPA task force sorted through all of those comments, and we wrote executive summaries for each TPA that include the top 3 opportunities for improvement for each TPA. So our advocate is now working with the TPAs to present our findings and improve the contractor TPA relationship. So we will deliver more interviews and videos with TPA leaders later this year, and we'll conduct the survey annually. Once the TPAs have had time to implement the feedback we've supplied, we'll send out the survey again. And we look forward to seeing those TPA scores improve each year. Next for 2021 is going to be our AGA Academy. We know that our audience consists mostly of restoration company owners. So the RIA is working on a curriculum that helps owners spread the AGA resources throughout their companies to the front lines. So we'll teach you and your team how to use the AGA resources along with some best practices for documentation on the job. And we'll even include a resource guide for how to use an assignment of benefits in each state. And we're currently working on speaking to franchise groups and larger companies to get the word out to as many people as possible about the AGA. So our resources work best when they're used by many. And if you're part of a large group that could benefit from an AGA presentation, just contact us and let us know. We'll get it on the schedule. So as most of you know, our restoration advocate is Ed Cross, also known as the restoration lawyer, and we are so grateful to have him working on our team. He speaks on our behalf to third parties, and he campaigns for change using the resources that we've created. And Ed will continue the work we've begun in the TPC and TPA arenas, and you can expect to see more updates from him in 2021. And Ed will also play a major role in developing the AGA Academy curriculum. So Ed, we just want to say thank you for all you do for us. This year, the RIA will be revisiting our membership model and dues structure. And we have selected a task force to begin working this month to examine our current due structure and determine a way to make RIA membership more affordable to more contractors. We want to reach as many people as possible because the RIA is a place where every contractor belongs, no matter who you are, where you're located, or your revenue. We welcome all of you. And once you join, you'll have access to members-only resources on the RIA website. There you can find our TPA, TPC, and pricing position statements, the TPA scorecard, and hours of video on pricing and third-party consultants. And soon we'll have videos with TPA leaders. We're adding member benefits regularly. So if you haven't visited restorationindustry.org in a while, go do that today and download the new pricing position statement while you're there. Of course, we need to mention our next in-person event. Our 75th annual convention will take place in Kissimmee, Florida, June 28th through the 30th. Our theme this year is The Industry Stands United. So you can expect to see a big focus on AGA programming on the schedule. We've got great opportunities for pre-convention education and workshops, and we will celebrate RIA's history and our future. Major announcement today, Vern Harnish, author of Scaling Up, will be our keynote speaker, and we'll have book signing and photo opportunities for here. So please go to convention.restorationindustry.org to get more information. Take advantage of that early bird discount that ends on March 15th. And finally, if you think the work the RIA is doing is impactful to your business, we encourage you to invest in the AGA. The money we raise will continue to fund the AGA arm of the RIA, and we can continue to provide groundbreaking resources that help you every day as you build your business. We've got your back, and we want to continue to be the voice of the restoration contractor. So to make an investment, go to restorationindustry.org, click on advocacy, then invest in AGA. And we want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of our investors. A big thank you to ATI, Restoration Affiliates, Interstate Restoration, Custom Restoration, and Restoration Management Company for your generous investments. Thank you to all of our volunteers who make everything we do possible. Christy Cohen, our CEO, and all of our RIA staff, our members, and our restoration advocate, Ed Cross. And on behalf of the RIA board, it is an honor and a pleasure to serve you, and we hope to see you in person in June. Christy?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Katie and Mark, for that terrific update. We have so many exciting initiatives for 2021 and are so excited to have contractors joining us along the way. So thank you very much. I am very pleased to present our next presenter, Mr. Philip Rosebook. Philip is the president and partner in Business Mentors. Philip specializes in organizational change, building corporate infrastructure, defining marketing strategy, creating a dynamic corporate culture, and creating sustainable business plans. Philip holds the RIA Certified Restorer Advanced designation and has held numerous IICRC certifications. He's been active in the restoration industry for over 30 years and served as an industry advisor and consultant for over 20. Philip, welcome.
All right, I should be here. Okay, hi, thank you, Christy. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Katie, for putting this together. What a great opportunity. And you know, I just want to give my congratulations to Mark Springer for really taking the time to implement or create change in the industry in a time that was really needed. Very turbulent time and a challenging time, certainly indeed in 2020. And great work, Mark. Great work, Katie. Great work, all of the teams. Everybody has volunteered and given time for this great industry and this great industry association. So. That being said, it's really interesting times right now. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna talk about some of the trends that have been happening. I'm gonna go into kind of an overview of a lot of the M&A events that have happened over the last 2 years. I could go deeper in that, but I'm gonna start 2 years because it was originally titled the tsunami of equity or private equity or mergers and acquisitions. And, you know, I think that was almost misleading a little bit because, you know, when a tidal wave's coming, the water all goes out and you just see miles of beaches and then the big wave comes. Well, guess what? We're deep into waters all around us. And so I think that some of that's been happening. I want to go through an overview. If you haven't been paying attention, this might change your perspective on what's happening. So I have a list here, and I'm gonna read the list of the different acquisitions that I've seen in the last 2 years and I have to read it off paper because there's zero chance I could have memorized this. And so I'm going to go through a laundry list. It's going to give you some perspective of what's going on. And then when I'm done with this, we'll start talking about why this is happening. And then secondarily, what you can do about it and what it means to you as an independent or a franchise or a restoration contractor. So let's jump in this real quick. So in March of 2018, Harvest Capital acquired Dwyer Group, which is a holding company for Rainbow. In March of 2018, HRI acquired Delta Disaster out of Colorado. In June of 2018, First Service Corporation acquired Super Restoration out of Miami. In July of 2018, Custom acquires American Coastal Builders. And then in August of 2018, Dominus acquired Blue Sky. And this was a secondary purchase by an equity company. It was an equity company buying another equity company out. In October of 2018, Custom partnered with Cat 5 Restoration out of the Chicago area. And then what was a really big move, this is one of the big first public equity companies getting into it, where Blackstone acquired ServPro. In April of 2019, American Securities, big deals, American Securities acquired Belfor. And in June of 2019, Soundcore acquired Utah Disaster Cleanup. In June of 2019, First Service acquired Global Restoration, otherwise known as this is the holding company for interstate restoration, in nearly a $500 million deal. In July of 2019, Custom acquires Patriot. In August of 2019, Polygon acquired Restore. And I think this was significant only because it was the first first acquisition I've seen by a Polygon. Polygon's a European corporation, or a European entity that is operated by Triton Capital. And what I was reading, and this was interesting because Triton Capital is going to be selling Polygon at some point during 2021 for around 1 billion euro. So I don't know whether that means they're coming here or we're going over there, one or the other, I'm not sure. October of 2019, BMS CAT was acquired by AEA Investors. In November of 2019, Global acquired Catco. In November of 2019, Custom partnered with Total Restoration. And in December of 2019, Global acquired Perfection out of Chicago. In January 2020, Sun Capital acquired Cotton. In May of 2020, Blue Sky acquired Harborough, and in June of 2020, BMS CAT acquired Diamond Restoration. In July of 2020, BMS acquired Jarvis Restoration, and July of 2020 as well, Custom acquired Zion Restoration out of Washington. In July of 2020, Global acquired Roiling Companies, and that sounds familiar, that is operated by our own Sam Bergman, former president of RIA. In August of 2020, BMS acquires Firedex of Pittsburgh, which concluded a very busy second quarter for them. In August of 2020, TSG partnered with ATI, which is the largest family-owned restoration company in the United States. This was interesting to me, and I think that it would be impactful. Rourke Capital acquired ServiceMaster in October of 2020. And then in May of 2020, I jumped backwards here, I guess, Restoration One announced a strategic partner with MPK Equity. And then ATI made their first acquisition with Mark I Restoration out of Pennsylvania. And finally, one that I find very significant, Trinity Hunt acquired our very own Mark Springer's Dayspring Restoration out of Montana. And so, gosh, that was a really long list. And you might ask yourself, why? Why restoration? 2020 was a really, really challenging year for business in general. And so if we looked at restoration, these acquisitions, they didn't even slow down this last year. And so what were the trends that were pushing those things and driving all of these equity companies to take a look at restoration and say, this might be a good business? So the first thing is, even though we're going to complain about insurance companies or Xactimate, sorry, Mike, or the other forces, restoration is a good industry to be in, and we have good profit margins. If we run our company effectively, then we have the opportunity to make very strong profit margins. CAT events they're all over the news. It's been a big couple of years for catastrophe events, and that means it's been good for restorers. Matter of fact, I was called and interviewed by a major national magazine, Harper's Magazine, and they were discussing how global climate change may be impacting insurance and restoration and what the impact might be. And that was a very interesting discussion and opportunity. The other thing is we found out in a very challenging time, 2020 was a very challenging time for many people, as we saw in that Clean Facts magazine, and I'll go pick that up after this event, was that this is an essential business. We are essential workers, and that we were recession resistant. It's not recession proof, it's recession resistant. And so given all of those things, that really created an interest here. And then I think one of the things that kind of gets overlooked is that restoration is an industry with a strong purpose. It's nice to be doing something bigger than ourselves when we're going to work every day. And so we're restoring lives and livelihoods of those people who've been impacted by disasters in their business or in their personal homes. And so there's a strong connection to a purpose there. And I think one of the things that's causing equity to look this way is there's an opportunity for arbitrage. What that means is I'm going to go buy a restoration company for, I'm going to make up some numbers here so you don't get misled one way or the other, but maybe they buy it for 4, 5, 6 times multiple of earnings, and then they can package those together, and then they could sell that same company for 8, 9, 10, or 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, I'm making up the numbers. Don't go sell or buy your business based on that. So nonetheless, that those are some of the leading directions and issues that are causing all of this M&A activity that's happening. So what does this mean to you and your restoration company? I think the first thing that is very relevant is that you can wake up tomorrow morning and the competitive nature of your marketplace can change completely overnight. And so build a strong business. Build a strong business, because what you thought you knew wasn't what happened the next day when you found out that all of a sudden a major national player just opened up in your back door. And so create a strong business. The second thing is that if you're looking at selling, it's a seller's market right now, and it's a good time to put your company out for sale if that's something you desire, or create a saleable company, and there's good valuations out there and it's a good opportunity. One of the things that dawned on me yesterday as I was talking to a client is this also is going to lead to potential wage escalations where really valuable people are going to be in high demand. And so create a good workspace and a good environment. It doesn't mean you have to pay people more, but it means you need to help them feel in on things and like they're part of something bigger than themselves, and listen to them and give them good opportunities and create a good workforce or a good workplace. And so steps that you can take here in your business. The first one is be strategic. Don't just operate out of gut feel. Create a plan. Think about your business. Be deliberate in what you do. The second thing is I think that you need to take steps to improve your financial acumen and your financial reporting. Understand your numbers, because there's a number of things. If you're going to sell your company, it's important, but if you're going to continue to operate your company, it's extremely important. It's extremely important to understand and see basically to establish some guardrails and to have a roadmap to figure out where you're going, and then to see that you're going in the right direction. The next thing that's extremely important is to diversify your work source. You may find that your best client, if it's worth 30 or 40% of your company, maybe they sold, or I'm sorry, maybe a competitor moves into your market that has a national account. And so that could be really substantial. So for example, and I don't know this for sure, but let's say CBRE is responsible for 30% of your company and they have a national deal with Belfour. All of a sudden, your best account just goes away. There's nothing you can do about it. So make sure that you diversify your work and have no more than 20% of your work, and I'd say much less than that, from a single work source. And then the final thing in this is own your digital footprint. Understand what it is that's out there in the general internet sphere, the digital world on and about your company, and own that and be deliberate and take control of the messaging that's out there, as well as that as an opportunity to leverage your company. And I think the final thing also on steps you can take is create an exceptional service program. That becomes a competitive advantage. It's something that you can do better than a really large company. You can control your service program. So there's a couple things. If you want to sell, maybe you do, maybe you don't, is understand the valuation of your company. Most people think their company is worth a lot more than it is. So have a way to figure out the valuation of your company, you may want to represent, or may want to reach out to a broker just to get some idea of how they represent you. And that's only because you're dealing with buyers that are professional buyers. And most of you are only going to sell 1 or 2 companies in your entire lifetime. And so that'll give you, at least just have the conversation. It'll give you some leverage, or at least some understanding. Have clean financials. If you're going to run your company today, and I talked about that, have clean financials, but also understand those numbers that are in there. And then I talked to a number of buyers of companies, and one of the questions they always have for me is, tell me about the leadership team. Because if you have just a strong owner and you sell the company, what's left? Because the owner's typically going to go maybe spend some time golfing or sitting on the beach. So whatever that is, make sure you have a strong leadership team that can carry on after you're gone. So as a summary, here's some thoughts. The M&A is a very scary and exciting time. What's going on in this industry is causing radical change. And change is not good nor bad. Change is just change. It's how you deal with it and how you choose to address your business and your company and your opportunities. The next thing to understand is restoration is a really strong business. It's a very compelling business. And if it wasn't, people wouldn't be trying to get into this. So maybe you want to continue to run your company if that's the case. So just understand that it's a strong business and there's opportunity, and create an exceptional company. Create something that you're proud to operate and run, and that you'd be proud to represent if you ever wanted to sell your business, but it also creates a strategic advantage for you. The future's bright and it's moving very fast, and the margin for error is much less than it had been in the past. So be deliberate, be strategic, and educate yourself. Be prepared for whatever's coming at you from a changed environment, and do something amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you, and hopefully this adds a different perspective on what's going on in the industry.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Philip. Certainly some important strategies for restoration companies to consider in this M&A environment. So we appreciate you being here with us. And now it is time to introduce our next presenter and special guest, Mr. Mike Fulton. Mike is president of Xactware Solutions. He oversees Xactware's integrated solutions for estimating, managing, and analyzing property claims, as well as products for professionals involved in the repair and maintenance of bank-owned and real estate sales. He has been actively involved in the residential and commercial construction industry since 1979, and in the property claims automation industry since 1992. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mike.
Thanks very much, everyone, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here. So just thanks, Mark, thanks, Katie, thanks, Christy, for giving me the opportunity, and really thanks to all of the RIA leadership. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Many of you know me, Mike Fulton, as Christy introduced me very humbly, 42 years in the construction and restoration industries, 29 of those 42 years working in the automation side within the Xactware organization. I really wanted to spend a few minutes with you this morning just talking about some important ways that we really see the restoration industry heading and what we're doing within that market to try and help you guys become more efficient. First of all, it would really be remiss if I didn't touch on the volume of claims that we've been seeing, which really in many ways just seems to be unabated since last year's record-breaking storm season. This particular chart shows all assignments within, that's the light blue line, and gross estimate value across North America for the last year. You can see the spike within the spring, so back in May, June, spring and early summer, the spike with the fall, early fall and late summer storms through August and October. And in comparison, see what's happened this last month, just since late February and into the beginning of March. And that is almost exclusively comprised of claims within Texas. If we drill down on that a little bit, you can actually see the values for Texas here. The dark blue line, again, estimating gross estimate values, meaning estimates that have been returned to us, very high during last year's storm season. And the fact that we don't have a dark blue line yet in February and March just means that we have not had estimates returned from that period. So if you were to look at the numbers between this and the last slide, almost half of the claims that we are seeing come through our system in the last month have been from Texas. So just a significant amount of work that's going on there. I've heard anecdotally from several of our large customers that they're equating this to somewhere near a Cat 4 hurricane. We at Xactware have actually paused on all of our releases and system updates just to minimize any potential disruption of people having to get out into hotel rooms and actually having to download and install a new version of the application. Just really sincerely can relate and appreciate, the great work that all of you are doing and continuing to do in the field. What I wanted to touch on next as we get into the state of the industry, and everything boils down to these days, you guys know it, is just efficiency, which really requires tools that are going to be connected. And the digital solutions that you all have to use have to communicate with each other, and they have to be secure. This is really why we purchased the Restoration Manager application several years ago, is because it meets those critical needs for contractors that specialize in restoration, from scheduling and job costing and job management, and really helps every aspect of your business, and really offers somewhere near around 100 possible connections to other tools. This particular thing actually leads us into a further expansion within the connected ecosystem. So we're expanding this product set within that workflow management group into a product that we're calling Align. This product was actually born from a gentleman who wanted to have a way to better understand where his people were, where his team was in the field, so that he could appropriately dispatch the correct person, the correct truck, the correct crew to the job when a consumer calls them. And if you can imagine, back when we used to travel and you used to use the Uber app, and once you have selected your ride, you could actually track that app from a movement perspective on the road and see how far away they were from you. That's at its core what this particular product does. So it allows you as a business unit leader to have an app installed on all of your people's phones, see where they are at any given time of day. So as you get called from a consumer, you know which one is the appropriate one to dispatch. Additionally, once you have done that, you can actually open that up to the consumer who you're working with so that they can see where that person is and get an estimate and an ETA of when they might be at their home. Even further, you have a way to set up your network and your offices within this application so that you can open it up to an insurer. So as an insurer who might want to open it up to, again, a policyholder who has a particular loss, they could go through that insurer's site, connect to this, decide which franchise organization or which restoration organization they want to use, perhaps by familiarity, perhaps by location and proximity. Once they've selected you as the person that's going to handle that job, then again, you can dispatch the appropriate person based upon their location and start opening that up to the consumer. So really excited about this. The name takes a little bit of time to grow on you, but Align, meaning you've got an ally with which you can align in the industry, and just really looking forward to some positive aspects of that. Next thing I wanted to touch on, we have 2 years ago, we introduced a product that we called Image to Scope, which was isolated at the time to leveraging only aerial imagery of a structure. And once that imagery had been converted into a sketch, you, the user, could actually drill down through a series of forms on the left-hand side of the screen. Rather than just searching for and dragging and dropping line items as you've historically done, you could run through a series of forms and answer questions such as whether or not the home needs to have ice and water shield, what type of shingle it needs, so on. And it would actually go to build that estimate for you. So I'm steering clear of saying automated estimating, but I'm saying heavily assisted estimating, I think, is our goal to assist the industry. That was, again, isolated to roofs. It was isolated to aerial imagery. That is now recently being expanded to what we're calling our Smart Scope tool that allows you to draw a manual sketch of the home or import a sketch from another third party and start estimating with roofs and exteriors, interiors. This particular screen we're showing is a new part of that Smart Scope tool set that we will be actually having an initial release next week that is targeted towards water mitigation. You'll actually be able to draw a containment barrier, as you can see with the yellow line here, and you'll go through a series of forms on the left-hand side for the category and type of water, start dragging and dropping equipment, whether it's dehues, air movers, and so on. This product, again, an initial very limited beta release that's coming out next week. I expect general release by mid-year, and ultimately it will start leveraging the IICRC standards so that once you determine the category, type of loss, and type of materials and so on, it will actually place that equipment for you. And then you could go in each day with your moisture readings subsequent to day one and have it make those adjustments for you. So really, really excited about some of the tools that we're providing to help you guys move forward in the industry. I think this one is going to be critical, apart from others that are out in the field that just unfortunately don't have a way to really totally integrate within our Sketch application. This is where you guys live from an estimating perspective, and I think this is going to be very beneficial to you. The last thing I wanted to touch on, we touched on this in our 2019 Elevate conference, actually the 2020 Elevate conference, was object recognition. We started this off from a contents inventories perspective, and the screen that you can see of the smartphone on the left is where you can just point the camera at a particular object in the structure and have it detect with a really high degree of accuracy what the thing is. And then you can determine whether or not you want to clean it, whether you want to replace it, whether you're going to store it, and so on. You even will help the AI to learn by saying, no, this isn't a coffee maker or just a coffee maker, it's a Keurig machine. Or if it happens to mistakenly identify something that would have been a toaster, you would type in toaster and it will actually correct that. That will come back to our system and help the algorithms to even learn further. That's been very cool, and it's been fairly widely adopted in the contents track market and the contents inventory perspective. The thing that I'm really excited about is what's coming out on the right-hand side of the screen. This is multiple object simultaneous detection. So here you'll be able to actually take your camera through the room, have it detect all of these things at once as you're panning through the room. And in the case that you see here, just literally within seconds, add 16 different items to your estimate. It's really focused on the personal property side right now, because that's one of the simpler forms to do. The next coming thing that we anticipate by year's end with this is getting into the structural side of it. So recognizing doors, windows, the type of doors, windows, flooring, wall material type, moldings, etc. Really excited about this technology and what it's going to do to help you become more efficient, more effective as an industry. Last thing I wanted to just touch on is our Elevate conference that we just wrapped up within the last couple of weeks. You know, these contractors are critical to our business. I apologize that we weren't able to do the conference in person this year. Looking forward to, like you, some sense of normalcy. Excited about your event that's coming up mid-year in mid-Florida, and hopefully we'll be able to actually have some attendance there. But if you didn't have a chance to attend our Elevate conference, it's not over. They were all recorded, so you can still go in and register for free. You can actually see some of the things that I've just presented in a video form and a demo form, which really take it to the next level. So you can really get a sense for how they work in action. So I would just invite you to attend this and spend some time with it. You can actually pick the different sessions that you want to attend. I really enjoyed the interview I was able to have with Steve Young, you know, the retired 49ers quarterback. Really great leadership principles that he provided to the industry that I think you might enjoy. That was quite the treat for me. So just encourage you to attend this and see what you can get out of it. And in the end, just thanks everyone. Again, thanks to the RIA leadership for giving me the opportunity. I'm going to stick around for the Q&A, but just appreciate all of your business.
Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate it. Some great technology, very interesting to see what's coming on the market to help contractors be more efficient. So thank you again, and we look forward to now introducing our final presenter of the day. I'm pleased to welcome Brandon Burton. Brandon has been an active member of the restoration industry for over 25 years, with an emphasis on technical training and standards. He currently serves as the IICRC's Standards Chairman, the Technical Application Leader for NextGear Solution Software, and as a consultant under his private firm, BIEC Consulting. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Christy, and have to echo all of what I've heard from the previous presenters and thank both the RIA and the IICRC, not only for bringing this event, but I've been directly witness to a lot of the collaboration that has occurred between these two organizations over the last 2.5, 3 years. And it has been very refreshing. I've been in the industry for about 26 or 27 years in total, and spent a lot of that time working with both organizations. And over the course of the last couple of years, being able to work with these two organizations in a collaborative effort has been probably one of the more amazing parts for me in my history in the industry, just to be a part of that. So I wanted to start by just giving a little bit of background on that, by the way. This process of seeing this collaboration between these organizations was really born with an effort that is still underway that's kind of near and dear to my heart with standards, with the fire and smoke restoration standard, the structural restoration standard, the S700. We heard a little bit about the S500 earlier and the fact that it's about to publish. And by the way, if you wanted to put a little tick on your calendars, I would look for that S500 at the end of May. That's probably when you're going to see it go out into circulation, at the very least, the first week of April. So just make a mark on your calendars to look for that and know when that's coming. But that effort really set us up well for what occurred with COVID-19. You know, at that point, when we began to collaborate on the S700 and on training and education, Mark and Kevin and others came together and said, you know, with an event like this, with a pandemic affecting our industry, you know, we need to rethink how we get information out to the industry and how we can provide useful information to those in the industry that are being directly impacted in their daily work and their businesses, with their employees, their clients and customers. So we assembled the joint task force with the effort of really re-envisioning how we can bring that information quickly to industry in a timely manner. And of course, we thought that was going to be a one-off event, right? We thought COVID-19, you know, we'll respond to the pandemic, get this information out. We had no idea that we were going to have such a massive winter storm event that was going to hit us so rapidly after that. So what was basically transpired is that joint task force has been kind of reformed a bit into not being specific to a single event, but being a crisis response joint task force. And the members of this joint task force may very well change. The intent is to have this force and the process that we developed and learned through COVID-19 be available and on the ready as our industry is impacted by various events, most recently being the winter storm events. So to kind of introduce that, first of all, if you don't mind jumping forward, yeah, there you go. Thank you very much, Mark. These are the members that make up the current joint task force. And I want to take just a moment to acknowledge this membership with Mark Drozdov, Norris Gearhart, and Michael Pinto. And by giving you just a little quick story. So I got a phone call on a Friday evening from Mark and Kevin. Apparently they had been speaking before they called me because they joined me into a conference call. And this was a Friday evening, and they said, look, we have another issue that we'd like to present before the joint task force. Do you think this joint task force would be willing to basically give up their subsequent weekend and evenings and any other time they have available to assemble a similar report as we did with COVID-19, given what's happening with the winter storms? And I had no doubt that this group of individuals, these three gentlemen, would be willing to jump right on it. So I sent out an email that Friday evening. I had responses that same evening from all three of them. And 4 days later, we had a report drafted and ready for peer review. We then had a group of individuals. There are approximately 20 peer reviewers that are listed in the report that all gave feedback and response in a timely manner. And we were able to produce the 2021 winter storm event report. I want to especially call out two individuals that are in that peer review group that I have a problem calling them peer reviewers because they were really content contributors. And you've heard Ed's name mentioned. Ed really stepped up and provided substantial content on contract considerations for the document, and David Dibdahl authored a whole section on risk management and liability assessment within the organization, especially as it relates to this type of an event. So I want to especially acknowledge these two individuals for the time that they committed to provide that for the report. So the report is out. It's available. What is it? Why is it important? Why should you read it? Why is it important to you? So this particular report obviously focuses specifically on the 2021 winter storm CAT events. And if you'll jump ahead one slide for me, Mark. All right, I just want to use this table of contents to kind of illustrate what the report really sets out to accomplish and talk a little bit about what's next for the report. First of all, the report does a really good job of summarizing just the total the totality of the events that we were dealing with. And some of us, when we're in kind of the vacuum of our own local area that we're working in or operating in, it can be really difficult to step back and get a feeling for the full brevity of these events. And this particular winter storm series of events was highly unique just because of the number of events that occurred and how those events strung together to create some of the the aftermath and effects in areas of the country that were just not at all well suited to really endure that type of weather. The second part of the report gets into the principles of when we are responding to a CAT event, and it takes really two angles in the discussion. It talks about participating in a CAT event when you're literally in the area that's impacted. It also talks about responding to CAT events when you aren't in the area that was impacted, but when are mobilized to respond, and talks a lot about those considerations, what the core principles of that response need to look like, and really assembles down to the third section, which is the heart of the document. When initially responding to a CAT event, how do you deal with all of the limitations that are in place for resources, for dealing with hazardous materials, for testing and regulations, and all of the things that would normally apply and should always apply regardless of the type of event that you're responding to? And the report makes a really good, strong stand on the opportunity to be providing stabilization as a service initially and breaking out the overall workflow of the mitigation response so that the workflow can stay in step and in time with infrastructure and resources as that changes within the areas that are impacted. So I encourage you to take a look at the report. The report will, as its next step, go into a second edition. The peer review group is being mobilized to edit this report to produce just one additional edition that will expand the report to discuss projects that were delayed because of those resources, where the response is not initially after the structures have been impacted, but it has now had a response 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the event has occurred, which is going to be a very, very large bucket of those projects. What additional considerations or what changes in the report are necessary based on that type of response? So you can look for that coming here in the next week to week and a half, depending upon the pace of the peer review. So I think, again, the RIA, the IICRC, and the AIHA for their participation in the development of these reports. I also look forward to this process now serving the industry in the future as we engage additional crises that impact our industry, the clients that we serve, and all of the associated stakeholders. So with that, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Brandon. And again, thank you for your leadership on the Crisis Joint Task Force. It is truly remarkable how quickly the task force was able to mobilize and work to develop this important report, so important and very timely resource for our industry. So thank you very, very much. So we do have some time here at the end for a couple of questions before we wrap up today. We've had a few submitted by our restoration industry media partners. And the first question that I'd like to direct is to Mark and to Michael Dakduk. As you know, virtual learning has become critical during the pandemic. What are some ways the RIA and IICRC are working together to increase educational opportunities to the industry?
Michael, do you want to address that first, and then I'll follow up to you?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. I'm actually going to bring in our chairman, Kevin, to answer this one. Kevin?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. The IICRC board has been looking at some e-learning opportunities or modular-based learning opportunities. And so it's one of the ways that we've kind of taken a next step was we've implemented live stream classes, as you know, along with our in-person classes. So we're trying to take the next step. We're still not there. We haven't rolled it out yet, but it is something that the board is looking at for the future to help with learning different ways, because not all of us may want to sit through an in-person class or sit through a live stream class or whatever. We all learn different ways, and so we've been looking at how do we roll that out to the registrants and certified firms and people in the industry. So that's one of the ways that we're looking at it. on the IICRC side.
Yeah, and I think our approach is very complementary to what IICRC is doing. Of course, IICRC is RIA's exclusive certification partner. So all of the training that we are doing now per our industry agreement is actually now being administered by IICRC. So our partnership is really shining in this right now. And, you know, I mentioned earlier that the industry faced a real crisis with COVID. We as an association faced a crisis with COVID, but out of that, you know, some of the really the silver lining, I think, is most illustrative in the training and the education. We were able to increase our advanced designation participation last year by almost 1,800%. You know, the advanced designations are so important. It's important that in our industry, people keep learning, they keep getting better, they keep looking at ways that they can improve their business and their technical and business acumen. And it's really hard with some of RIA's advanced designations because they're big commitments. You know, they usually require travel to, you know, cross the country. There's sometimes 5 days of travel involved with some of the advanced designations. And so all of that results in a very high cost for participation. And by doing it virtually, although it was difficult for us initially, we were able to train so many more people. And actually, last year we brought a new designation online with the fire loss specialist. I got another designation coming online here next year in the environmental remediation specialist. So that will complete the 4th pillar designation. And in doing all of these things, we've been able to, again, working with IICRC, get in really just an exponentially larger number of people this important information and help elevate the industry per our mission in the industry. Now, one of the things that we hope to accomplish with IICRC, Kevin Pearson and I were dreaming about this a number of years ago when we first had discussions about this partnership that we have in the industry, is how do we bring kind of all the stuff that RIA does together with all the stuff that IICRC has, and then jointly build this career path for the industry. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to help our industry. That whole issue of retaining and recruiting people is not easily accomplished if people don't see that they can have a future in this industry. And, you know, this is a great industry to be in. And I think working together, we can create and cast vision for how that future looks when we create this career path. So in June, when our annual meeting is happening, our 75th, not to, you know, try to get folks to register right away, but we hope you will register right away. In June, end of June, IICRC's leadership will be meeting with RIA's leadership to talk specifically about how we can further this career path that we're talking about. So looking forward to doing all that on behalf of the industry.
Great, thank you, Mark and Kevin, we appreciate it. And we have another question here. Mark, I'm going to address this one to you. While the IICRC and RIA have had a strategic partnership for a while now, AIHA's involvement is newer, thank you to the Crisis Joint Task Force. How do these 3 organizations hope to work together moving forward for the greater good of the cleaning, restoration, and IH industries as a whole?
There may be other folks who want to jump on and speak to this as well, but you know, really some of our key focus over the last few years as a board of directors for RIA has been to accomplish 2 things. First of all, provide voice for the contractor, and the second is to unify this industry that has been so fragmented. So it has taken, you know, some intentional effort, and frankly, in some cases, some political, you know, wrangling. There's always some politics in this stuff, but what we're proud of is that there's so many people in the industry today who are so ready to find ways to collaborate and to participate together for the good of the industry. And, you know, I really kudos to Larry Sloan and the folks over at AIHA. Whenever I call Larry, he gets right back to me with these opportunities where we can work together and immediately jump into these collaborations. And in both the COVID document and joint report, and then also in the storm one that Brandon also just presented. I mean, their participation was just immediate. They jumped right in. And I think that that really sets the foundation and the stage for more collaboration in the future. And there's been some discussion, don't have anything to announce now, but there's been some side discussion about how do we bring these together? How do we, as we bring standards to the industry, how do we work together in ways that can do this work more quickly, result in a more professional outcome, and something that elevates the industry and helps us in the public's view have that professionalism that's expected on behalf of our customers. I don't know if anyone else wants to address that. Certainly, Michael or Kevin or Carey, if any of you guys want to jump in, or Katie, that's my, I guess, what I would, how I would answer that. But certainly, if you want to add anything to that, I'd welcome you to do that.
You know, Mark, it's just interesting to me that every time, like you mentioned, we've called Larry, he's more than willing to help us in any way necessary, find us additional resources through his organization, or whatever we need to kind of fit what we're trying to do at that moment. And that's been real helpful as you and I have talked, you know, trying to make sure that Brandon and the task force have what they need to get the job done. It's been real helpful to be able to reach out to not only the RIA, but the AIHA, and kind of mold and mesh everything together. And then of course, Brandon just makes it work seamlessly and just like magic. So it's nice to have somebody like that.
You talking about Superman?
Yeah.
Brandon Burton. You know, and one other thing I guess I'd add, here's the cool thing about this. It makes for such a better product. You know, it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = something greater than that, or in this case, 1 + 1 + 1 with AIHA. And, you know, I think we're just getting started here in this unification effort. I think there's so many other opportunities to engage the industry. You know, one of the things on RIA's side is not only engaging other associations and, you know, like-minded groups, but also, you know, some of these companies that have really big footprint. We talked about some of the major investors that RA has that we appreciate so much the 5 companies that were there, but so many more are coming on board now. You know, we're in budgeting season. We got more. I wish we could have announced more. We have a lot more in the pipeline that are going to be coming on, but, you know, a very broad base makes a strong industry. We just had 2 new guys join our board who I think are going to add a ton to what we can do, in Matt Preston, General Counsel for ServPro, and then Mitch Heitman from Interstate Restoration. These guys have so much to add. And, you know, I think historically there's kind of this tribalism that we have, or silos. We got to get past that as an industry and find these areas where we have common ground where we can work together.
Well said. We appreciate that. Thank you both. And this last question, Katie, you touched on this quite a bit in your presentation, but just kind of to recap for us, in terms of what's next for RIA, especially around industry engagement, education, and advocacy, why is it important for contractors, no matter the size, to support this momentum? And with that, how can the entire industry support the momentum that we've had?
Absolutely. You know, creating the resources is just the first step. And if they're not being used, then you know, they can't just sit on the shelf. So they're going to gain momentum as more people download them and begin to use them every day. I know just from my standpoint how difficult it can be just to share information in my own company, because I get in my little RIA bubble. So I know if I have that issue, then other company owners do as well. And so that's why we've made it pretty easy to catch up with everything we've done on our website at restorationindustry.org. But we also know you don't have a lot of time to read a lot of articles. And so we are working to create some videos that are similar to the format of this, that can catch you up from start to finish, or start to where we are now in a short amount of time. And so just, you know, look over the resources and then think about what type of impact they can make in your company. Start to use them, share them within your network. We see you on social media. We know how connected you guys are. So make sure that you're talking to other people in your network and celebrating the wins that you get when you use these resources. And then just make an investment in AGA and make sure you're getting our emails and staying up to date on what's going on, because it's happening so fast. You see all these resources that have been created in just months, really, and there's a lot more to come. And so we'll continue to campaign for change and to make it a little bit easier to be a restoration contractor.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. Well, we want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we're going to go ahead and thank all of our presenters and thank all of you for joining us today. We hope that this will be the first of many State of the Restoration Industry events to come. Please be sure to follow RIA and IICRC on social media and on our websites for additional updates and resources. And we hope that you all have a great afternoon. Thank you, everyone.